Time flies.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio. I'm Derek Asklar. Craig Talley's on the line there, and we'll be hosting the show. You guys kind of caught us off guard a little bit. Me and Craig were sitting there gabbing. We're like, oh my God, we got to go. We get started talking about relic hunting. It's all over with.
It always happens that way.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we were just talking, just generally about, about a couple of the videos, and Craig, gotten some, good comments or good questions asked about metal detectors lately and which one to get, and and people, it seems like a lot of the people that are getting into the hobby now are, they're interested. And I don't think there's anybody that's not really interested, because everybody likes to find stuff, but Craig had one, and Craig, you tell him, because I just thought it was a good response to it, and what he thought and everything else, because he kind of asked you some good questions too.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of people, asking me stuff on the Hardcore Metal Detecting page on Facebook, and one of them is, people want to get a decent machine when they first. Some people, I would say most people don't know if they're going to really stick with it or not. They don't know for sure, but
right.
They don't want to put out a lot of money, but they also don't want to, throw the money away,
Yeah.
And so this guy was, asking, he's brand new to, and he wants to buy a machine, and he said, I don't want to spend a lot of money, but he said also don't want to have a machine. If I get into the hobby, I really start liking it, then I've wasted, then I'm going to have wasted my money, because I'm going to have to get a better machine. And I said, look at the Simplex. I said, Derek's got, he's just bought one, and he's done like 5 or 6 videos already on it, and they're on the page. And I said, I haven't used one, but I said, I'm impressed. This thing is very impressive. And I said, it's not you can get one for $259 without the wireless headphones. And, it's a light machine. It's, read about it. It's, I think it's, probably the best deal out there right now. I said, I've even seen veteran relic hunters like myself, that have bought these. There's a couple guys like Quarter Hoarder just bought an Amphibio, but he also got a Simplex, and he was playing around with it, and his friend Doug grabbed the thing and started, said, "Here, let me try it." And he said he can't get the thing back now. He can't even test it.
It's an impressive little detector, man. I tell you, and I always tell guys too, Craig. Me and Craig, tell people this all the time. You get what you can afford. You go around, you check with your friends, what are they using, what do they cost and everything, and every detector will find you something. And if you have a chance to buy a mid-level, a mid-price range detector, maybe used, sometimes you can get them, a couple $100 less than what you get them new. And a lot of the guys out there and gals, when we buy new metal detectors, we sell our old one. A lot of times, unless you're just trying to keep it to hunt a certain spot, or maybe it's a beach machine or something like that. You don't really want to get rid of it. If I can talk tonight, get rid of it because you plan on hunting the beach and stuff like that. But maybe you want to get a whatever kind of detector. So, you keep that one, but you might sell another one you've had for a while and you haven't used very much. And, so you'll sell it on eBay or wherever. And you're not, I don't ask a ton of money for my used detectors either. Usually they're several $100s less than what I paid for them. But I can get them into somebody's hands that, can enjoy a higher price metal detector for, that they probably wouldn't normally go out and spend the money on, but be happy with whatever you have because everything will find you something. I mean, there's, even the Radio Shack Special will find you something, you got to use it, got to learn it, all that kind of stuff. But just with the Simplex, I've had a lot of positive, I guess, comments and stuff like that about what it's doing, and that's what it's all about is the detector. I mean, I try to make a few videos, and they're a little bit long, but it's also what the machine will do. I mean, it really the unmasking power of it. It doesn't get a ton of depth. It gets a really good depth though, really, when you think about it, Craig, because everything I dig is several scoops down in the ground or around. I mean, depth wise, it's over like 7 inches. Most of the stuff is. And that's pretty good for most any detector, dime-sized targets that deep. I mean... Yeah,
I mean, it's not going to go as deep as the Equinox.
No,
no. But, for like, almost a quarter of the price, or not quite,
right.
Between, a third and a quarter of the price of what the Equinox goes for, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
You look at that machine, just the visual part of it, just looking at it, it doesn't look like a toy or anything like, some of these detectors that are out there. It's slim. It doesn't have like a huge box like some of those, more entry-level type machines are. I can see like, if you've got a son or a daughter and they're thinking about getting into the hobby, they're going to be proud to use one of those machines. It doesn't look like a toy. I've heard this. I've seen kids, and I taught tennis. Kids with tennis rackets and stuff. They don't want the little bitty kid's racket. They want the adult one. They don't want the. They don't want the, toy. Obviously junky looking metal detector. They want, one that looks like, the Simplex. Mm-hmm. It looks very similar to the Equinox. I mean, it's got beautiful screen on it, and it's going to find you stuff. I mean, I see these veterans on YouTube, and it's amazing how many guys just bought these machines. They don't need it, but they just want to play with it. It's like, they have Equinoxes, they got CTXs, they got, all kinds of, Deus and everything else. But this machine is really, got a buzz. It's, I was telling Derek, I said, this is going to change everything. They're not going to be able to compete. None of these companies are going to be able to compete unless they start coming out with models that look like these.
Well, I don't know, but looks are part of it, Craig. But just I enjoy using this machine. I know I've had bunches of machines, and I can't remember one in the recent past that I went to or so look forward to getting, and taking out metal detecting. I've had, Quest and several other machines. I mean, it really doesn't matter our brand, but it just hasn't caught my interest. The thing about this machine is its unmasking capability, even though maybe it's not what they meant it to do. It has that when you hear a higher signal, higher pitch signal, there's something in there. I mean, at least on the site I'm at. Now, I'm on a golden site too. I mean, I'm on a site that most people. What's that?
I can hear it in video. I can hear it in video.
Yeah,
you get like a scratchy high signal,
Mm-hmm.
tweak signal, but it's high, but it's scratchy. It almost sounds like iron, but
it's like a grindy or zippy sound or something.
But it's got, it holds that high, tone in the middle, and then you take a scoop out and you go back over it, and it sounds better. And then you go take another scoop out and get the iron out, and then, man, it's like that. It's like, the thing just goes bang, when you get it out of the hole. I mean, it's unbelievable. But the high tone comes through, but it comes through that iron is what it's doing.
I haven't even got to the videos of the some of the holes I've dug, Craig, where it's, I'm getting that twerp or tweet, whatever. It's just in the same spot. It's repeatable in the same direction. Sometimes I don't get it in the other direction, but in that one direction, it's in the same spot. It does it every single time, even though there's an iron signal in there with it. But like you said, I pull a scoop out and this and that. I had one, and I don't even know if I have the footage. I don't know if I had the camera on or not. It's like dug like 5 or 6 nails, and I'm still getting a good signal in there. And it turned out to be a pocket watch piece. But it was, God, I mean, it was like 6 nails and, scrap metal, this and everything else. I'm like, God, this can't be it. I mean, they weren't putting off any kind of a high-pitched tone, and the signal's still in the hole, and it was one of those half pieces that fit in a pocket watch. They're like aluminum or something like that. It's a light-colored metal. I don't think it's brass unless it's white brass or something, but they kind of fit in there as a spacer or a washer. I don't know much about insides of pocket watches, but anyway, it's like a half moon shaped piece, and it was folded in half, so it's probably about the size of maybe like a quarter.
It's probably brass.
Yeah, but I mean, it was in there, and I get it out, and I said, okay, got something here. I unfold. I think I found 2 of them, but anyways, I had one on the last video that I put out. But as soon as I get that signal out, I get nothing in it. And what I've started doing is taking extra scoops out. I just can't help it because there's just so many items in there that how much of that stuff is getting masked. Even when I have the hole open, there's so many items in that hole. Even the stuff that I dug that was given I guess you would say it was jumpy signals, but they were going up into the 90s, like that axe head. Or the one I don't know if it's an axe head or a hatchet head or whatever. And then I found another axe head this last time, but it's really old metal. It's not, it's scaly, but it's coming through. I mean, it's not just a piece of random, I don't know, angle iron laying in the ground or something like that. It's actually giving me a good signal. Now, this is a beautiful site. I mean, I dig so many good things, not only metal stuff, but I mean bottles. I found several bottles already that I think are pretty cool and from different eras. Most of the stuff is before 1920. Right, 1920s and before that. But not to mention the stone. I'm always looking for stone tools or arrowheads, and this is like a golden site for that because it's been untouched. Nobody has messed with this area other than to rip down whatever building was right there. Nobody's had a metal detector, and so it is a golden site. Now, I've had a few guys say, it makes too much noise or it has too many noises. That's what we call nuance, and some of them are very subtle. Other ones are overpowering. I mean, you learn very quickly with a machine. I don't get aggravated with it at all, and it doesn't false. I had one guy tell me that. He goes, you set that coil down and it makes all kinds of noise. No, it's me. I run my hand through the arm cuff and let the detector hang right on my forearm, and I'm digging with my left hand, and that moving the detector, it's a motion detector. It's going to make noise, especially when you're in a trashy area. You're laying around, you got the coil laying around on the ground. There's probably nails underneath it and everything else. And then I get my pinpointer, and if you get a pinpointer too close to the coil, yeah, it's going to sound off. It's no big deal. You move the coil over a little bit, but I had to explain it to him because I don't really talk about that in the video. It's maybe a bad habit of mine. That's why I said the thing's pretty durable. I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 280, 90 pounds, something like that. And when I do lean on that coil, accidentally, every once in a while, I'll lean, on my right arm, and I'll put pressure on that thing. I like it that the detector shaft flexes. It to the left or right, it'll flex, but up and down, it won't. It doesn't. It's just the way it's shaped, but it doesn't have a wobble. You could pound it into, stubble, thick grass. It doesn't false. I mean, most of the machines I've had will throw a false if you bang into stuff pretty hard, if you have it set to chatter or whatever, to be chatty as far as threshold. It doesn't really have, it's not a silent hunter. It does have a threshold, I'm sure. I really haven't used this machine with headphones yet. I mean, I'm usually a headphone guy. I believe in them. But when you're shooting a video, I want you guys to hear what it's doing, and I'm learning it too. And I'm sure that I'm missing targets because there is so many quiet signals that are repeatable in both directions. And you take 2 scoops out, you're already down, 8 or 9 inches, and then you dig something non-ferrous down in there. It is going to tell you what it is, but it's just fancy. It's a fancier sound wise. It's just fancier. It has a robust sound to it. I don't know if they designed it to be like that.
I think they did. I think they did design it like that because it's a very odd signal when you hear it, like when it's real loud. It's real close to something, but when you get it, something deeper, you hear more nuances in the sound. It's kind of slows it. Mm-hmm. To me, it does. It kind of slows it down a little bit. But the other thing I notice is how it even on this little tiny signals, it's just like
it's there, like,
yeah. Yeah, it locks on. It's like that.
I get giddy every time I dig something, Craig. I mean, it's like, oh, what is this? Oh my God, what is it? It is. I feel like I just started metal detecting again. It's kind of brought new, and it is a good site. So that makes a lot of difference with me, is because it's a site that I prefer to hunt, and that I know something about as far as plantation properties and stuff, and how they had them set up, and I know the range of finds, especially when it hasn't been hit by somebody. I mean, it's just like you just never know. You really don't know what you're going to dig up. You just have no clue. I don't go by VDI numbers except to tell me whether an item is more than likely ferrous or non-ferrous. Iron, will usually come up in the low numbers. Like 4 seems to be a pretty strong cast iron signal. But you get some cast irons that are, have more impurities in them that do jump higher. But like nails, I think I've dug 2 or 3 nails thinking they were good targets. But, then again, Craig, I might have taken a scoop out and disturbed whatever item was down in there, and it turned on its edge, and I just didn't get it. It's a classic thing that happens to if you've been in the hobby long enough, you realize it already. But if you're kind of newer to the hobby, if you got a good signal and you're pretty sure, you're definitely getting a signal there, and you start digging, and all of a sudden you're not getting anything, take another scoop out, because more often than not, I have an item fall right off the bottom of the plug, that you're digging out. It'll fall into the hole and it'll be on its edge. Like a dime on its edge is not a very big surface area. I've had a metal detector that could hit a dime on edge at 5.5 inches down in the ground. Most detectors would not. I mean, unless you're using like a GPX or something like that. Take another scoop out of there, and if you have to, take 2 out just to make sure. If you're in a good area that has a lot of good relics in it, or coins or whatever you're after, give it a chance, because sometimes it just falls right in the hole. And I've actually filled in holes, Craig, and gone back over it, a day or 2 later. So, man, how in the world did I miss that? It's still in the hole. Well, you did it with, I remember you found that half dime, was it, Craig? Or that, no, it was the Canadian, I think it was a Canadian dime from 1860 something. And you always wondered how it went there, but you actually filled the hole in, and there's a target again. And that's another trick we use, too.
Yeah.
We'll fill it back in.
Yeah, that was an 1858. Canadian dime right there at the trenches, and I've actually asked several relic dealers, have you ever heard of anybody digging a Canadian dime in a Civil War camp, or from that era? And they go, no, that's weird. And I said, I think it's somebody probably from Maine or New Hampshire, or Vermont, or something,
or New York, or whatever.
That was near the Canadian border, but that's pretty cool, actually. But that was in clay, and I had the Bliss tool, and I was shocked, because this path that I was walking on, we'd walked for years on that path. It was like right along the trenches, and in that same area, I dug a U.S. plate, and Howard had dug a baby U.S. and a spur, and he got something else out of this thicket, and then walked away. And I asked him if he was, finished, and I went in there and dug a Virginia halfpenny.
Yeah.
But so I mean, I'm walking along, and I get this signal, and I'm like, no, this can't be a signal. I mean, I know I've gone over this thing because there was so much good stuff there that we come there. I mean, I inched along that area. I had the Explorer, I had the Nautilus. I'd thoroughly gone over those areas for years. But and I dug down, and then the signal disappeared, and I filled it back in, and it came back. And I said, God, I got to dig the thing out harder. But it was so hard to dig. It was all this clay in there. It was like sticking to the shovel even. But finally, it got it out of the ground. It must have been I figure it was between 12 and 14 inches. But I've had a lot of times where coins, or signals had disappeared, and I just dig the hole further. I remember one time I dug past it; it was stuck into the side of the hole.
Sometimes
good. Sometimes you don't pinpoint right, and you dig right past it. I've seen people do that. The deeper the target is, the harder it is to really pinpoint it solidly.
Well, you see that in my videos too. I'm pretty honest in my video. I don't hide nothing. I mean, if I screw up, I screw up. If I don't, get a target, or if it's in the side of the hole. But I think many times when I pinpoint a target, I'm getting a signal, and I pinpoint it. I try to hit from both directions. I'll pinpoint it, and I'll find out right where I think it is, and scan over it, and it'll give me a better VDI number because this machine has a very high recovery delay speed. It allows me to zero in really good, and I'll start digging the hole, and all of a sudden I'll turn around, and I'm like digging down. I'm getting down to about 10 inches down, 11 inches down. I'll drop the pinpointer because I'm afraid I'm gonna scratch something real bad. I use a big aggressive shovel, so I put the pinpointer down there and say, man, that's weird. It's right in the side of the hole. I must have pinpointed. But when I'm pinpointing initially, that signal could be bouncing off another piece of metal. I don't know. I mean, it just, you're not all the time going to be able to be dead on something and dig it. I don't think there is a metal detector that can really do it. I did it with the Bliss tool. I mean, I'd pinpoint, both directions because it doesn't have a screen or a pinpoint button, and I'd get the signal, and that thing was deadly accurate. I mean, I could zero right in on stuff that was 10 inches down in the ground. But every once in a while, you get those that has multiple targets in there, and it's bouncing around, or the signal's bouncing around, and it makes you dig the hole off. That's why you always see me back off usually about 3 or 4 inches from the original plug and drive down and dig another one. Then I'll come from the other direction. There's a method to my madness. I don't scratch very many things, and it's just something I've learned over the years. Once you rake something real bad and you ruin something, it makes you a little bit more discreet in the way that you do things. Or if you're an aggressive digger like I am, I try to move back from it, get underneath it, and pop it up. It's maybe not the textbook way of doing things, but even when I'm driving the shovel into the ground, I'm bumping the shovel into the ground because there's bottles, there's other items, and if I do happen to hit an item, it's going to tap it instead of grind it. Really cut into it. It's just stuff that I've learned over the years. Craig does the same thing. I mean, Craig uses an entrenchment shovel. Yeah, you got to be graceful with that kind of thing, or careful.
Yeah, it's like, it's not just the metal detector. It's being able to recover the target without messing it up.
Yeah.
I started, using, just a digging knife, when I was first started, because I was just coin hunting, and then, the first time I went out relic hunting, I didn't have a good shovel, and I was using a digging knife trying to dig down, 8, 9, 10 inches deep, for targets in the middle of the woods, with roots and all this stuff, and all these other guys were covering 3 targets every, to one I was getting because it's taking me so long, and so I immediately got a entrenching shovel, and a lot of people that were back then, there was coin hunters, and then there was relic hunters. It was just, coin hunters did their own thing, but they didn't a lot of them didn't care. I mean, we go to this one club, and they didn't care about Civil War relics or anything, but they liked the coins, you know. Whereas I liked everything old. I just couldn't get enough of the Civil War stuff. I still can't. But you know, it's you know, so I learned, you know, I'm in the woods, and you know, you get signals in the woods, and you're running into roots, and some of them are pretty big, and I could hack right through those roots just like Paul Bunyan, you know, with that trenching shovel, you know, and I'd have people call me over. I did this hunt at that fort over in Arlington, and it was right on the golf course. And these guys, you know, they were using little digging knives, and they were having a heck of a trouble, you know, getting the targets out of the ground. It was real dry that day too.
Right.
And you know how it is. That's when you hit stuff, is when it's dry.
Yeah, it just throws that tip off a little bit, and you're done.
Yeah. Well, you start getting impatient. You start putting more pressure on it to try to get it
aggressive.
in.
Yeah, you're getting more aggressive too with the shovel.
And what happens? It tends to slip and slide in, where you know, and hit something. You know, but anyway, you know, I was going around. People were going, Craig, can you help me? You know, and I'd go over there, hack the thing out of the ground, go back and get my machine, start hunting again. You know, and somebody else go, hey, help! I can't get this out of the ground.
Yeah.
But they used to go, oh my God, you know, that thing is like dangerous looking, you know. And I go, well, you know, I said, you know, I have hit things with it, but it, you know, I learned to be, you know, you have to take your time. You're not in a hurry. I know a lot of guys are. They want to dig more than everybody else, and they're in a race, and I'm not. I just, you know, I'm out there to have fun. I don't care what other people think.
I have more of a problem with saying, oh, what is it? What's it going to be? You know, it's all pirate treasure until you find out it's not. You know, it could be a $20 gold piece, or it could be a pull tab. I mean, you know, you don't know, and it's like you have to calm yourself down, because, like, you know, I do use it's a number 2 shovel, like it's a garden shovel, like, you know, rounded edge usually. This one comes to an aggressive point, and I got it at Lowe's or something several years. I got it back in 2015. I remember I got it in Nashville, Tennessee, or Murfreesboro, Tennessee, one of the two. I was with Bill Pendergrass, Thunderdome. I need to check in with him, but anyways, I bought it there for $20. I mean, you guys see me pry stuff with that thing, slam it in the ground. I don't have any problems out of it. I put an edge on it once a year, and you know, and it can handle, you know, really hard packed or sod or whatever, and it cuts in so nice. I can get right through that, you know, that grass, that St. Augustine grass or hay, whatever you want to call it. It's a wild St. Augustine grass. It's really thick. It's almost like a carpeting on the ground, and when you're dealing with the ground that's been pounded to death by cattle and everything for over 100 years, I mean, it's some tough ground, and then I'm dealing with rocks on top of that. You get to the point where you can put your shovel in the ground and you can just touch a rock and pretty much know. You can just tell by the sound, and you can tell the sound of metal, and you can tell the sound of glass, you know, and the way it feels. You could feel it if you. And with that fiberglass handle, I used to be able to do this with wood handle. I can do it with wood handle shovels, because that's what I used to use. But this fiberglass, whatever kind of handle this is on it, it has that vibration, that grind on a stone. And, you know, I deal with limestone rock. It's a little bit different, but this is like flint rock, real hard. But I can tell most of the time if it's, you know, the only time I have a problem is if it's cast iron. You know, you get that cruddy cast iron that's been in the ground for a long time. Sometimes I get fooled by it, but usually I'll stop, back the shovel up, you know, easily step down on it. Oop, I touch something else, back up the shovel again. And then, you know, and I find a lot of stuff by rocks, you know, like these they're actually boulders. They're not, I mean, some of these things are probably 30,000 pounds. They look like they're a softball size on top of the ground, but if you go to dig them out, the rock goes way out. You know, I mean, it's like this big rock in the ground, you know, essentially. So it's kind of a weird site. But I also I've dug 2 or 3 rocks. I'm almost 90% sure they're drills. You know, they used to, for those of you know, I guess you could say, you know, like arrowheads. The flint, you know, the flint rock down here, they knock it a certain way or notch it, and you can actually force this thing down, like to cut a hole in the leather strap, or drill a hole into a piece of wood to put a piece of leather through as a handle or something like that, to tie onto something. I found several of these rocks. They just look different than everything else you find. You see me pick them up when I'm detecting on the video. That looks interesting. I'm putting it in my pouch, because I found more often than not that if it could very well be, since there's so much of that rock in that general area, that's where people, the Indians or whoever it was, went to get rocks to make this stuff. I mean, I have a place up just north of me that I wish I can get permission again on, but the lady's kind of lost her mind a little bit over the years, and she doesn't let anybody on there. But man, I found a 44-ounce glass, Craig. The Polar Pop cups, or whatever, the Stoke foam cups. That's all I had with me. So I was walking around in the field, and I picked up so many shards, and these were obviously tooled shards. They weren't like scrapers and stuff like that. Filled it in 10 minutes. I just started grabbing them off the ground. They just plowed the field and kind of dissed it more or less, but so I'm in this same kind of an area down south of there with the flint rock, the limestone rock. And, they're just interesting pieces. You just don't know what you're going to dig up. I've dug stuff, I can't even get it out of the ground. I know there's a forged piece of metal in the ground. It's been like a round, beaten into like a roundish rod about, I don't know, half an inch to 3/4 inch thick. And at the end of it, it's hammered flat and a hole in it. I don't know what it is. I try to get it out of the ground. I don't know whether it's caught on something. Maybe that's why it's in the ground. They got it jammed underneath a piece of rock. I don't know. But I'll eventually dig it up. I told John about it, the landowner. I said, man, I really like to see what some of this stuff is. If you ever disc this field or try to. And he goes, I don't know. All the plow blades you found, I don't think I want to even try to disc it, because it just looks like it's going to beat up the disc even. Which is a common, we got a field down the street, man. It's probably like a 30-acre field, and this guy pulled out enough boulders out of that thing. He was pulling them out with front end loader, and or backhoes. They were pulling them out. And they're probably the size of the front end of your car, Craig. They're big, and the smaller ones too. But they have a huge pile of them, because he was trying to get the field cleared out to use it for hayfield. Like the Tifton hay pays a lot of money. But there's a lot of work that goes involved.
The whole valley in Virginia here, where I am, is exactly like that. I mean, I got a 2-ton boulder in my basement, that they just built the house over top of.
Right. And I have no doubt they were tooling rocks and everything, to make bricks, fire bricks, everything else, because this area was known for that way back. I mean, they used to. This county is a lot of. We call it Sumter County rock, is what we call it. And they have it around other parts of Florida and everything. It just seems like a lot of it. We have like three or four major rock mines here, limestone rock mines, and there's a reason for that, because it's here, it's around. So you had a lot of activity. People use that stuff because there's not a lot of that kind of material to foundation blocks or chimneys or anything like that. I mean, we just don't have, other than using coral, which I don't know. You've heard of the Coral Castle, Craig, haven't you? Back down in southern Florida, it wasn't. They moved it over the years, but I mean, this is built by a man that he was by himself. Moved, just the door alone to get into the thing. It's like 80,000 pounds. He didn't have any heavy equipment, and they would pull.
Yeah, nobody knows how he really did it. Either.
Yeah, it's just it's strange, but
crazy.
I mean, kind of getting off on a different topic. But man, I tell you, the guy is amazing. What he did, I have no idea how he did it. Magnetism, I don't know, but he would move these huge, coral pieces. I mean, we're 80, 100,000 pound pieces with no machinery, no horses, or that anybody knows of. They just come back and it was unloaded. So, that's the only thing that I know that they use down here, other than the Sumter County rock, the limestone rock, to build stuff out of. So, it's just kind of a neat site. I want to take it to the Simplex, to a park. You're going to be more selective. I haven't yet gotten over any coins yet, but I've gotten over coin-sized targets, shotgun shells, that kind of thing. Shotgun shells have me fun buzzled. I've said it before that and you guys will see is, if you got some of you guys get this machine, it will hit the shotgun shells at weird VDIs, and there's never not like locking on at one VDI, and it's the makeup of them. I don't know the thickness of the brass. I have no clue. This thing almost kind of it sizes a target. It knows some. I don't know how to put that other than that, Craig. It's like size of the surface area of a target matters when it comes to the VDI, and what it does as far as the way it jumps around.
Maybe it's because it's not just round; it's kind of long too.
Maybe
so it's not. It's probably not. Especially if it's probably not straight up and down. In the ground where it's the top is like level. But if it's sideways, yeah, I could see it.
Well, like that rifle round I got. Did I put that in the video? I can't remember what I put in the video, what I didn't. I just know I have like 3 hours, 4 hours of footage from each day. But I dug that rifle round. I think it's a 30-06 or something round, or maybe it's a 303. I think I said an 03 on her, so I think it might be a 303 round. But the way it hit it, Craig, and I'm glad I didn't know what it was, and I even said that. I said that's a weird sound, or it's doing a weird thing on it. So I got to dig it, but I dug it gently because it, I always worry about, especially with 22 rounds, hitting that primer, rim fires and stuff like that. Anybody who's new to the hobby, and it's just a safety thing with me, don't put a bullet, you dig a live round, don't put it in your fine bag. Take it, put it somewhere where you can get it on the way out, or take it back to your vehicle. I have, this like a paranoia thing maybe. Those rimfire 22s, well, they call them a rimfire for a reason. They fire off the rim. You start dropping metal into your pouch right there, and you pinch that thing. I'd hate to see somebody get shot. So 99% of the time you'd be okay, but it's just a safety thing. Be careful. Glass too. I mean, I dig a log of glass and pottery and everything else. I'm kind of careful the way I put it in my fine bag so I don't reach my hand down in there and cut a finger open. Very painful, and it's a pain the rest of the day, trying to keep it wrapped, and you don't want to get any kind of infections and stuff like that. We carry stuff with us. I think you do, Craig, too. Some kind of a little, I don't know, peroxide or something just to dump on a cut. Because me and Craig really don't wear gloves. I mean, it's probably not the smartest thing. Yeah. I just don't like wearing gloves.
I just stick my finger in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, but when you cut, I've had some cuts on my hand where I've nailed glass, and the glass is the worst, but I know some guys that dig up north in these parks, and they have hypodermic needles, and you learn over the years how to, when you put your hand into the hole and you're kind of trying to find a target, how to rub your finger across that ground, and it's funny, your fingers are very sensitive anyways. You feel that slightest sharpness or edge, and you back off of it. You don't keep on. Some people don't, that are newer to the hobby might continue digging. You feel something that don't feel quite right, stop and look at what you're dealing with. There might be a broken bottle in there and the shard's sticking right up there, and you'll cut half your finger off, or at least gouge you out pretty good. I can't remember who it was, Craig. He was telling me he got like 4 stitches in his finger. It's been a couple of years ago, but he reached down in there and hit the end of a broken bottle top, and it laid his hand right open, and it was like, oh man, that ruined your day real quick. So, you got to, just like anything, you got to use common sense. I don't prefer gloves. I don't like gloves. I don't know. I don't know. I just never wear them. My wife gets on my case all the time, and even when I was, the only time I probably wore gloves is when I was chaining up a semi to go over a mountain or something like that in a snowstorm. Only because my hands get cold. That's the only time I wear gloves, to keep them from getting cold.
Like I was wearing gloves today, because it was, it was like 49 or 50, but it was like so windy. It was like anything bare was like, getting cold. But as soon as I get a target, I take my gloves off. I can't use my gloves when I dig. Mm-hmm. I got to be able to feel it in the dirt with my hands.
Right.
I don't know. That's just the way I am. I've heard people say, I've heard some people saying, like, when you recover a target, not to stick the pinpointer in the ground, in the hole.
Right.
You should dig the target up first and then use the pinpointer. But I always stick the pinpointer in the hole and find it.
Well, yeah, I do. It just depends on the situation, but yeah.
Yeah, unless it's already out,
Right. I get down to a certain point into the ground, and I think I've said it several times. I say this stuff anyways. I think this stuff. Okay, I've taken 2 scoops out, 3 scoops out. Yep. I'm worried about damaging an item. I get down too far into the ground. You can't make an accurate plug, or an actual scoop without dragging the tip of that shovel across the center of the hole, and that's the best way to scratch an item. So I'll get down there with a pinpointer, or at least figure out which side of the hole it's on, so I know which way to hit it from. It's something it only takes you scratching a couple good items and tick you off that bad, where you will watch how you're digging every time. And it's even working a metal detector. The one guy was telling me, in the comments that, and he was actually getting on somebody else, really. The one guy said he liked the detector, or it was impressive. And I have somebody else get on there and said, yeah, but not on the beach. And I'm a nice guy. I try to be a nice guy most of the time, so I put on there, well, I haven't had mine at the beach yet. I want to do that. What did it do to you? Or how did it react with you? Well, he never answered me. So obviously he hasn't had his on the beach. He's just throwing riffraff around there, or if you don't, there's some people that do that. I mean, if they've hunted with it and they can give you a legitimate reason what it's doing, because I find that on a beach is a different environment for a lot of us that are relic hunters. We're not used to hunting beaches a lot. It's like you on a beach, Craig. I mean, you're going to be pulling from your experiences trying to calm that metal detector down, no matter which one you're using, because you're not used to that salt water mineral, that salt mineral being in the equation with setting your metal detector up. Where I have a little bit more. I've been there a few times, but
the times I've been to to saltwater beaches, I never hunted salt part because I didn't have a detector that would do that.
Right. But, there is ways to make these detectors calmer, and it's usually less is more attitude. I mean, you go, and I noticed that with the Simplex. They say if you're on a wet salt beach and you can't ground, but just turn it to 0. Turn your ground balance to 0. That's the same thing I did with the Bliss tool, 5 years ago. That's how I figured it out. You're dealing not only with iron, but with salt, and 2 different minerals.
Can you hunt in all metal with a VLF on the saltwater?
You can. I don't see why not. I used to hunt with the Beach Hunter ID in all metal. I don't see why you couldn't. And I don't know about the salt part of it. I don't think it's going to affect it that much if you have your sensitivity set right. See, I was kind of spoiled with the Bliss tool, with the silencer and everything. There's ways for me to adjust that detector down where I can work and dig 14, 15-inch quarters on the beach, wet salt sand, no problem, or 12-inch chains or whatever. But with this detector, I just don't know just yet. It doesn't have a lot of adjustments. That's one of the things I liked about it. I mean, I'd like to have more adjustments on it, but I didn't pay for that. I paid for a machine that I could use as a backup machine and go and hunt with and feel confident that I'm at least going to get stuff at 8 inches down into the ground in case I don't have my other detector, or something happens to my other detector, it breaks or the battery goes dead or whatever. I have a machine I can hunt with. But in saying that, most of the time, I think every video, unless I tell you otherwise, the only thing that I've messed with is turning the iron volume down to 1 bar, and I've turned the sensitivity up to 3/4, and that's it. That's all I mess with. I don't notch anything out. Why bother notching it out if you know what by the VDI or by the sound what it is? I mean, you're only going to dig so many square tabs before you're going to know exactly what VDI is and exactly what the nuance is of those square tabs. I mean, it's just, you're going to pick it up. You're just going to understand it. People think too much when it comes to sound. Just if it doesn't sound the same, or if there's something odd about it, it's probably not what you think it is. Like if you're digging a lot of pull tabs and all of a sudden now you're getting a scratchy sound in there and the VDI's jumping the wrong way. Okay, well, maybe it's not a pull tab, maybe it's a button. A lot of buttons I've dug are 20s, and I think or 20s to 30s or something like that, but I think a pull tab's in that range too. I haven't really tried that out, Craig. I think I've only dug one actual old school pull tab, or 2 maybe. In this field, there's just not a lot of more modern stuff in it. But when I took it to a little curbside, and I was digging some can slaw, which messes with most detectors, and it fooled me a couple times with can slaw, but these were like pretty big balls. It's like aluminum foil that's balled up. They just come through for some reason, and then you go to the situation where you got to dig trash to get treasure. I mean, I dig a lot of stuff. I mean, I got 5-gallon buckets full of stuff, and if you don't know what something is, save it. I mean, you're going to eventually get into a site where you're just not going to be able to tell. That's what I'm in right now. Until I clean the dirt off, until I really look at it, I can't tell what the heck it is. And if it has an odd shape, usually your first impression of an item is kind of right in a way. I did get fooled, Craig. I found that. Remember, I was telling you I found that pocket. Well, I thought it was a pocket watch in the ground, but this thing is like 4 inches thick, 3 inches thick, and it has like these pieces on there. I thought it was like a grandmother clock, insides or something like that. And it's all brass and everything. Well, I took it home. I showed Pauline, and she's like, I don't, it looks like something. I can't tell what it is though. And then I go the next time out, I just dug a crank, and it turns out it's a bait casting reel, or like that style of fishing reel, and it has to be 1920s at least. Everything else around it has been. And I can't see any names on it yet. I haven't cleaned it up enough to see that. But here's two pieces 30 feet apart. Now you know what it is for sure. And it's why I don't throw anything away. I'm keeping everything off this site, junk and all. And then when I finally get done hunting it, or to a certain point, this is what I dug good and this is what I dug bad. I mean, and this is what you got to do. You got to dig the junk to get it. And I'm selective. I layer it off there. Why worry about this halfway sound that's real quiet in the ground when 2 foot over you got this pounding signal that's either iron or not? But I mean, get it out of the way. That's my theory. I'm not going to fight for an hour to get down 13, 14 inches into the ground and fight to get one target in an hour when I'm not really sure what the heck it is to begin with. I'm not getting a good enough signal to tell. I have noticed with this particular detector, which is not really a bad thing, when I get a signal and there's no VDI number at all, there's just 2 lines. Okay, that tells me, number one, it's deep or it's very small. That's all it's telling me, and that's okay, because I can put it over into field and a lot of times get somewhat of a partial VDI. And lately it's been always above 30. Between 30 and 60. That's a lot of different stuff. That's bullets, that's shotgun shells, that's, buttons, brass, copper, whatever. That's all in that kind of little range right there. And, I got to go ahead and dig it. If it sounds good, I dig it. I think the stealth diggers do that. A lot of us veteran hunters do that. We've learned when it's different, it's good. When it doesn't sound right, it's good. Or at least good to get it out of the way, anyways. I mean,
I always say, take a chance.
Yeah.
You're already digging this stuff, and it's like the lottery. Some of the, I always stick the pinpointer in the ground, and there's a lot of good stuff that's iron that are relics.
Oh yeah, I found that out.
I mean, what if you dug a nice, iron skeleton key or something? Who wouldn't want something like that?
Or a bayonet or a sword or a whatever.
But when I'm recovering a target, then I recover the target, and then I run the pinpointer around, and I dig every signal beat that it does. And in my yard, it's always square nails mostly, but every once in a while I'll get I remember one time I got a 50 caliber musket ball. It was masked by all the iron. Just popped it out.
I think I asked you this already, Craig. Have you heard of a cast iron nail? Did they really make cast iron nails? I saw it somewhere. I've been finding them. I think I've been finding cast iron nails that have just like a little bit left of them, but you can tell it's cast on the outside and it's like wire in the center. I don't know. I mean, it's weird nails. I need to start showing. I got a bunch of them. I keep everything, but they're just strange nails.
A lot of the square nails I find, some of them, seem to be almost like cast, and then there's others that they almost like delaminate. It's like they flake sideways.
Something,
Yeah, they got, well, I guess it's scales. They got like scales on them. But some of the nails, like some of the square nails, they never get scales on them. They stay kind of blackish almost. Like,
it's almost like they didn't make them with the scaling thing. And I've seen this. I watch Forge and Fire too because I love the idea of blacksmithing. I've never tried it, but they talk about delamination and what causes that, and it's the heat. And how you you drench it, whatever. If you use water, it's not a good thing. You got to use oil and this and that. There's a bunch of metallurgy kind of things where, I don't understand it, but I just know what they're saying. It makes a knife brittle or whatever. I'm thinking the same thing with nails. If you get square nails, they were hand forged, made, whatever.
Well, you also have, iron has impurities in it. Some of
right.
Iron is not as pure as others. I think if it's really pure, it doesn't tend to rust as much.
Yeah, but like chisels and stuff usually last a lot longer than axe blades and stuff like that. I mean, that's another thing. I've been finding so many axe heads and stuff like that, and they're all broken in pretty much the same spot on the axe head and the hatchet head or whatever the heck it is, right on the blade side of the handle. It right there at the very front, it breaks off. I don't know why they would break. Even the hammer. I found this one hammer that it's a hammer. It looks really old. It broke in the same spot too. I can't figure out what they're doing to break that part of the axe or the hammer or whatever. It's just there's something fishy about it. I just can't put my finger on it. Why it's breaking? Why they broke so many in that way? Whether they were hitting it with something or prying on something, or it just doesn't make a lot of sense really. But it's something that's different. It stands out, so I'm kind of looking into it. As far as the Simplex go, I mean, I've had a ball with it, Craig. I'm still using it, and I'll probably still keep on using it. I know Lloyd from Relics Radio is on the chat right now, and I kind of moved back in the chat a little ways, but he's having. I'm going to butcher her name, Delic, something like that. It's from Note to Macro on his show on Thursday night. I want to say it's 7 p.m. Central Time. I think that's what Lloyd's show is, and him and Mark Hoover and Tennessee Jeff. I'll be listening in on that show if I have any chance of doing that on Thursday, because I'm kind of curious about what she has to say or whatever. Maybe you guys get into the more technical side, why they picked, and I don't know if she even knows why they picked 12 kilohertz. I notice on like the Quest and stuff, it's like 13. I think it is 13 kilohertz, and like the Bliss Tool is 8 kilohertz. And, why was it 12 kilohertz that worked better? Or was it because of the processors you're using inside the detector electronically? Because you get Mind Labs that are, like the Equinox is jumping all these frequencies, and that's how they get around doing whatever they're doing, getting the depth and the target separation and everything. But there's, this Simplex is staying at 12 kilohertz, Craig. But it's like, is it the processors that they're using? It's kind of interests me in the electronics way. And I'm not an electronics guy, but I mean, it can give me a better understanding of what they were after when they put this machine together.
Their next machine will, the high end one like that will be called the Complex.
The Complex. I like that. That's good. The Complex. Oh, sure. Any rate, but no, I mean, guys, listen in on Relics Radio. It's on Spreaker.com too, and I'm sure most of you guys on chat or whatever. But if you're listening in your car or you're new to the hobby or whatever, Lloyd, Mark, and Jeff, they put on a good show, and they always have really good guests on there. That's their kind of their thing. They've a lot of guests on their show. We're kind of just I don't know, open format. Wherever our show goes, it goes. So we all have these different podcast radio shows. We all do a different thing, but it's all about metal detecting or associated with it. We get into a lot of kind of weird topics and stuff like that once in a while here, but I don't know. It all is kind of adventure or treasure hunting or whatever. It's just life, I guess. I don't know. But I'm looking on here. You guys are going. I can't keep up with chat anymore, Craig. step on that.
Yeah, I saw where Calico just got a whole shipment in, so I guess they're, if you want one, you can buy one now. Not have to wait.
Oh yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, I was going to I'll look over at SeriousDetecting.com, and you guys can actually go to just look under Nokta macro. It'll give you the simplex right there, and he has information about it and everything, and it'll say on there whether it's in stock or not. And if it's not in stock, you can just simply put your email address on there, and whenever he gets them in, it automatically lets you know by email that, hey, they're in. You can get one if you want to. I kind of like that way. Now Calico, they you go through there and you could do a pre-order. I think they're on their second or third round of pre-orders. It's the same kind of thing.
They got them in.
Oh, they got them in now. Yeah, they got them in. So they've gone through 2 pre-orders, anyways. But it's just companies. They do different things. It's not a big deal. I just preferred, hey, just let me know when it's in. I'll look at it again, see if I still really want it, type thing. And I've known Evan for years, but it was nice. I must have got the only one he had. He told me he probably wasn't going to have them until, he said 2020. This was back in October, Craig, that I wanted to get it. Something like that.
Yeah.
So he may have gotten his shipment in too. I just haven't looked to see. But they have a lot of other different detectors too. If there's another one that you want to get, I'm kind of curious about this. The Vanquish. What is it doing? Has anybody really looked into that one?
I saw Gigmaster has a video on it, and he's got it on the beach.
Hang on, I'm gonna write this down. Gigmaster. I'm gonna write that down right now. Go ahead. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah, he's a big Equinox guy, and he also, he's got a pretty good channel. He does beach hunting, water hunting, relic hunting, down in South Carolina. So, he's rough on machines. He's, he's got a lot of really good stuff on his videos. I like it.
Yeah.
It's funny. He's got this real tough South Carolina accent. And I got 2 friends that can't stand it. Listen, they can't watch him because of his accent. And I go, man, he just got a Southern accent. He's like, and they go, nah, it's too squeaky or something. I go, man. I said, I remember we had this lady from New York, and she goes, "You guys got this, crazy sounding accent." And I said, "You sound like you're holding your nose when you're talking."
Yeah.
I said, "Your voice sounds alien to us, from the South if you're from the North."
Baby, knock it off. My dog's snoring. So I was trying to stop it. Sorry, guys. Got a sensitive microphone, so it's going to pick it up anyways. But oh shoot! But yeah, I was telling Lloyd, they don't want me to go for another hour, Craig. We can go for a little while longer, no big deal. But yeah, I mean, Lloyd has some good people on his show and everything, and that's why I like. We kind of listen to each other's shows. I mean, I catch Josh Kimmel's show, Beyond Sight and Sound, when I can. My life is so crazy most of the time. I usually have to catch everything on replays, Craig. Where it seems like you have a little bit better handle on your time. I don't know, I'm bouncing all over the place, it seems like. But I'm going to get out there again. I'm thinking about Monday, possibly Monday morning or Wednesday morning. And I'm going to try to get a couple more videos up. But what's killing me is, I don't know why, but my download speed or my upload speed, Craig, is like 2. It's like dial up. It's driving me crazy, and I have no idea why, other than it has to be the, cable provider. I'm hard lined in. I'm not using satellite, but it took 2.5 hours to upload a 20-minute video, whatever it was. I'm not sure why that's going on or whatever, but it just gets frustrating to me because it's like I can edit it, render it, put it on in my file, and then and do that in a half an hour easily. And it takes 2.5, 3 hours for it to upload. And it's like, if I have other stuff to do on the computer, you got to stay on YouTube. Or it says you have to stay on YouTube until it finishes, processing. And sometimes I can't do it. So what I've been trying to do is do it at night before I go to bed and just leave the computer open, let it do its thing. But I don't know what's going on. Even I was trying to share the video around, Craig, onto the pages and stuff, and it usually gives you the what do they call it? I don't know, the tag, whatever the picture of whatever you have on the cover photo for the video. When you share it over to Facebook, usually
you thought thumbnail.
Yeah, the thumbnail. Usually they put the thumbnail photos. Well, I mean, I tried the other day to get that, and I had one picked out. It shows it on when it's on YouTube, but on Facebook, all it says is YouTube on it. You have to click the link. I'm like, I tried every way I could think of. I don't know what YouTube's doing. Now they're changing a bunch of stuff again.
If you go to YouTube Studio and to the edit part, and
right.
they'll show 3 thumbnails, and you can pick one of those 3.
I did.
It'll show, but the other thing what I do is I go on to and you have to do it on iPhone. I go on to YouTube Studio, which is like if I do a movie on iTunes, unless I do like an hour, like I could do a half an hour movie,
right?
And then, but I have to make it all one movie and then load it onto iPhoto. I mean iMovie. But if I do like segments and put it on there, it'll cut me off at 15 minutes. But if I do it on Studio, it's unlimited. You can do a long movie on those.
Right. So I don't know. This thing was. I tried every way to upload it. I could.
I go to Studio, and then on my phone, and you could probably do it on your phone. I don't know, but you bring up it'll bring up your latest video.
Right.
And then there's a little pencil at the top, and you hit that, and then it goes to the screen. It says edit video.
Right.
And it'll show, like on the left at the top, there's a little box, and it'll say photos, and you can click that, and then you can actually go to your photos and pick one of those as your thumbnail.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't have a problem with that aspect of it. What I'm having a problem with is actually sharing from YouTube to Facebook, to like Hardcore Metal Detecting or my personal Facebook page, or I don't know, Adventures in History, Mark's page, or whatever. When it comes up there, I could put the description, whatever I want on there, and I hit post, and then it doesn't put anything but YouTube on there. It's just a little YouTube thing, like it's on there, like you saw it on our page. I couldn't change that.
Yeah, they're doing that now for some reason. I don't know why.
I want to throat punch them.
This is something new,
Yeah,
and I used to be able to. They're screwing around with sharing because there's all this copyright stuff. It's like the Drudge Report got sold out. Now it's totally different, and everybody's going, "What the heck happened?" I Googled it and found out they got sold out, but it was something to do with he was a news aggregate, and people are taking news articles and making money off of it, and the people that actually produce the articles aren't making much money off of it. And Google and Facebook are guilty about that too. And so there's all this stuff with the ads. Ad money is like huge. Google and Facebook steal it all pretty much.
I just don't like the way they're doing it.
The FTC is now doing this guidance. They're YouTube's looking for guidance on FTC because of this child viewing on YouTube, and people are wondering, well, what if some child fakes it and they find out and it wasn't my fault? I'm gonna get in trouble. Nobody knows what's going on because YouTube is just they make up rules as they go along now. But now all of a sudden they're asking FTC what to do about it, and the ad money is so big; it's just huge. I mean, it's the biggest business in the world now.
I just think it's getting crooked
off ads.
Yeah, it's getting crooked. Big time crooked as far as I'm concerned. But Lloyd come on here and said that on Facebook you can post your YouTube link, then put your thumbnail in as a attached photo. Yeah, I'm going to try that. Well, I tried to do it before, but I put 2 photos in. I think that probably messed it up. But yeah, it's just weird. Like Craig, you're talking about Craig. I mean, these ads, the monetization stuff, and just makes you want to just throat punch somebody over that. I just get annoyed with all the rules and I don't know. They change stuff around, and it ends up kind of screwing us up as individuals, and they're thinking it's no big deal, but it really just benefits them. And it bothers me, especially what YouTube did a couple of years ago with, pretty much saying you had to have 1,000 subscribers and this and that, and the other thing, or you couldn't monetize, and if they did it to Craig, and Craig, I still get annoyed with that. You had money that you had earned up, you couldn't withdraw any of it until it was $100 before you could pull money. And you had 50 some odd dollars on there. Well, when they changed everything, where did that 50 some odd dollars go? And if they did it to Craig, how many more millions of people did they do it to? Where did all that money go? I mean, I got a problem when people try to screw people around like that. And we're just regular guys. We're not looking to make a fortune on anything, but it was money that Craig earned. I felt, I was pretty mad about that for you, buddy, because how, you waited a long time to be able to collect any money from YouTube to begin with, so,
Yeah, I got $200, and it took me a while, but it was kind of nice, at least I make some money off of it, and but I didn't think I was going to get rich or anything. I mean, metal detecting is not like a YouTube kind of channel that you're going to be, multimillionaire on. I don't think. Unless you're like this guy Dalai was he D Almighty, but he's a river treasure guy. But it's I don't do it for the money. I do it for fun. But it's nice to be able to make a little bit of money back to cover your expenses and stuff. And
well, it's like all the guys that do it. I mean, stealth diggers and all that.
But
it's good to make.
Just, in the last few years, it's just been one thing after another. The ad apocalypse, knocking everybody's subscribers. All of a sudden your subscribers are all gone. Some people lost thousands of subscribers, and I don't see anything wrong with sub for sub. If somebody subs to you and they're a metal detecting channel, I've always subbed to their channel.
Yeah, it's good etiquette. It's good etiquette.
I've been doing this since 2008 or 9 or whatever,
right.
When I first started on YouTube, I was always looking for any channel I saw back then that was anything related to metal detecting or treasure hunting. I'd subscribe to them, because there wasn't a lot. Now there's thousands.
Well, like even on our pages now, like hardcore metal detecting Facebook page, I go through there and it tells you people that you can send a friend request to. Well, obviously we're into metal detecting, and I see people from really around the world. I never know, you never really know exactly where people are at, but, if they have, 50 friends or 100 friends or whatever, you can pan down there to the, who's following or who's friends with them. If I see Craig Talley on there, and I see Loy on there, and I see Mark Hoover on there, hey, this might be somebody's page I want to, be friends with too, so I click it, and well, I don't know these people. We make a lot of good friends that way.
The only thing that I see is the restriction on Facebook is you can only have, I think, 5,000 friends, maybe.
Yeah,
but
I got like 300. I don't even know some of them, but, that.
I'm over 4,000, but
yeah.
I've knocked off hundreds before. Every so often, every year or two, I go through and just knock a bunch of people off,
Well, you get the freaks and the I don't know, hoochie mamas and all that stuff. I have to, go through and, delete.
I can kind of tell on them. They don't have anybody in common with you.
Well, yeah, if I don't see a metal detector or a find or, something that, unless they're just new to the hobby, you can tell if it's a legitimate person. I mean, for a while there, I think when we first started, we fell into the same trap as everybody did where, they liked our page. We'll follow them, or we'll send a friend request out.
We don't even know who they are. I knock off is you got all these people selling gems and coins and all kinds of gold and all kinds of stuff overseas and stuff. You got in prospecting clubs, things like
Right,
that. I'm
right.
not interested in that, but I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not into buying coins and all this stuff. I'm
And
certainly not going to do it
jewels
over
and stuff.
the internet, you
Right.
know. But I don't know, because I'd see like a picture, of a relic or something, and then you click on, and you got all these friends that they're on that one too, and then you find out they're not into metal detecting, they're into selling stuff,
Right.
So those I go through and check to see if those are the, and I knock off maybe 200 or 300 of those guys about every year or two.
Mhm.
Just
I think I give everybody a chance, though, Craig. I mean, even there was a couple
I did
guys that that make knives and stuff like that. I kind of find that interesting. Like I said before, I like forging. The idea of forging, I've never tried it, but I give everybody a chance. If you start, if somebody starts putting all the
it's different. Like in a page, I like a page. That's totally different, But it's having a friend. I'm talking about friends.
Right.
Guys that sell it, they're doing it as a business, trying to spam you basically through a friendship on Facebook is what it is. So
I don't know, Craig. They're saying
those are the ones that I knock off.
They're saying on chat right now the hoochies want to hunt Craig's yard too. The hoochie mamas. You just never. I mean, it is. The only ones that really ever bothered me was the trolls. I call them trolls. They're looking to make trouble or threats and all that. That annoys me big time. I just think
I'd let Digging with Britt come over and dig my yard if she wants to. You ever seen her?
Yeah. No,
I don't know if she's still doing. I haven't seen her.
I think she's still detecting.
Years, but
yeah.
I
think she's still.
People
get burned out on it too sometimes. Making the videos and stuff. I did for a while, and it, more or less it was because this past summer I really just didn't get my coil over anything worth even, unless you guys like seeing shotgun shells and bullets. That's all I found, and it weren't even good bullets. So yeah, I mean, it was annoying. Just like I didn't even want to take a camera with me. I never took a camcorder really for a while there. I figured, well, if I need to take a video, I'll just take it with my cell phone. I just want to find something. I spent all my, concentrated all my time finding things. And, you hit sites like that. I mean, it was a challenge. It still is. I'm still haunting the spot. And, I'll find something there eventually. I'll find where the activity was. And, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. That's the way I've looked at it. And you don't find anything worth anything unless you look for it. Every dog has his day, and you pick up a $20 bill off the ground, Craig. But you know how it goes. When's the last $20 gold piece you found? You haven't. That's one thing you're after. That's like a bucket list item. So it makes it that much sweeter when you do find it. It's.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it was easy, it wouldn't be that big a thrill. But
right.
It's like I found a lot of Spanish reals, but there's nothing like it when I find one. I mean, it's like, my heart stops.
And you could be the best hunter in the world and never find one. I mean, that's the thing. You got to get your coil over, and if you just don't get your coil over, Craig, that's just the way it is. It sucks. I mean, but there's a lot of things I won't find in my life, but I found a lot of stuff that nobody else has found. So, I mean, it evens out.
Never say never. Never say never. You never know, man.
Right.
I've been shocked. I've been totally shocked. I don't know how many times. So it's like I found this King Charles II cuff links, and I when I looked at them, I was like, man, that looks royal, because I saw like this crown, these two hearts underneath, and I couldn't find any information. I didn't know where to go. And so I took detailed pictures and put them on couple UK sites, and this lady thought I was actually from Britain.
Yeah.
I said, no, I found these in Northern Virginia, and she's like, you're kidding me. That's from like 1660 to 1685. And my friend knew these archaeologists over at Mount Vernon, George Washington's home, and he was telling them about it. He wouldn't tell them who I was or where I found them, but he kind of told him, it was near a major creek down south of here, off Route 1. But anyway, they were saying, oh no, there's no way those could be found there, And I go, well, they were. So I mean, obviously you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we find stuff that they don't find. I mean, they dig at random. We dig where the detector tells us to dig.
Yeah. And a lot of stuff too, Craig. Unless you're getting out into these, you can't prejudge a site. I've done it before, and I've just kicked myself in the butt because like some sites I could have been digging on, 15 years ago. But I said, oh, there's nothing there. No, my research doesn't show nothing there. My maps from 40 years ago, my aerial photos don't show anything, but there was something there because I went back to them years later and find all kinds of stuff. Well, you just got to give it a try. So put that coil to the soil and go with it. You'd be surprised what people don't know about their area. I have found so much stuff in this county. Love this county. And there's a lot more stuff to be found in it. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, you got, stuff was built over here. If you're lucky enough to find a spot that really hasn't been messed with, and that maybe had an old house on it or a plantation property. I mean, I dug on that one plantation property for 10 years, and I would still be going back to it now if they hadn't tore everything up and built a house there. But I mean, I found thousands of relics and coins and everything there. And it was just, I knew, I guess when it ended, Craig, it really took the wind out of my sails. I mean, it's such a good site. Now, it's like I find myself thinking about that now going to the Legacy Oak property. It's like, okay, I found this, and this already, all these good stuff. Am I going to find anything today, or is it dried up? Is it done? It's that gut feeling. It's like, man, I don't want this to end. I want to keep on finding stuff. Kind of like your yard, Craig. You just, you beat the heck out of that yard, but you're still finding stuff, but you have, it's that gut feeling saying, man, I'm going to have to buy another house.
One of the reasons I, was always looking for the ultimate detectors, is because I had all these great sites that I knew there was still got stuff on the site. I just couldn't hear it, and, it's like the Explorer and probably the Bliss Tool were the two machines that just shocked me.
Right.
I never thought I'd find a breastplate on a hammered site.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Oh God.
The thing was so deep. I went right over it with the Deus. I know I did the day before, and I found a company letter G. With the Deus at about 5 inches, which it's very thin, and but I know I went right by that tree and searched all around it because it was the biggest tree around that whole area.
Right.
And I go back with the Bliss tool, and I get I could raise the coil off the ground. And I kept. I at first I had no idea what it was going to be, but it just sounded really good. And I got down, I guess about a foot, and I went back over the hole, and it was even louder. And I started thinking it could be a plate. I got to be careful, and I started widening the hole, and digging more carefully. And I got down. I measured it on my shovel. It was like 16 inches deep. But I was like, that was a site where the guy, he owed me a site. I'd taken to a bunch of good sites, and I said, hey, you owe me one, man. So he takes me to this site that he said, I said, what was found here? And he goes, there was a Virginia button and a U.S. buckle found here. It's been hid for years. And he didn't really want to hunt, and then I found that company letter G, and he gets all upset. And so then he hunted around, and I think I found 2 bullets. And then I said, can I come back? And he goes, I'm not coming back here anymore. And so I come up the next day and get the breastplate. And then I go, hey, man, look at this.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, my God. So he's back up there the next day with me, and I was like, I said, this place is not done, man. I said, you got to hunt slow. I mean,
heck, I hunted up there. I found stuff up there. I found a 3-ringer and some buckball, and all. You found another button, I think it was, or a dime, something like that. I mean, there's still stuff in there. I mean, that's why I hear guys say, hey, I don't hunt that spot. It's all hunted out. Brother, send me over there. Give me the address. I'll go hunt it. because I know if it was that good that you went back all those times, I know it had good stuff in it or fun stuff to find anyway. And now you think that it's dead now, there ain't nothing there. Got news for you. There's probably stuff there unless you're using some heavy duty firepower on it, you know.
Yeah,
but,
it was like that flat top hill. It's that bank that was going up
yeah.
the hill. It was real steep around it.
Mm-hmm.
When I first hunted that place was loaded. It was like bullets, buttons, coins. I dug fatty Indian heads. I dug, regular Indian heads. Silver and buffalo nickels. Wheat pennies.
Right.
Silver dimes and quarters. I mean, it was just. I dug a hilt from a Japanese samurai sword. It was like copper, all inlaid with pictures on it.
Oh, jeez.
All kinds of weird stuff. It must have been some kind of house site up there, but you couldn't really see. The ground sounded like a house site, but you didn't really see like a structure where a structure had been. But
yeah. And I've had sites, Craig, that right next door. I get permission on 2 different properties right next door to each other. Both of them had houses and stuff. I know which house had the most money running around because that's where I find all the clad at. Old clad Indian heads and everything else. And the next door property, nothing. I mean, just nothing compared to what I'm finding on the other one. Either they were pack rats and just kept coins everywhere, or it's just funny. I mean, I haven't dug an Indian head, and God, it's been almost a year. I mean, I dug some wheat pennies and stuff like that, and some people don't even dig wheat pennies, Craig. They can't get their coil over one. It sounds funny, but they dig Lincolns and Indian heads, but they never get a coil over a wheat penny. It's strange. Barb hunted for how many years before she got an Indian head? She's a pretty damn good little hunter right there now. I wouldn't mess with her. She has a shovel. She stabbed her own self in the foot with her shovel. I don't know what she'd do to me. They're picking on you, by the way, Craig. You need to go back through chat. They're still talking about Brit, I guess. Craig could hunt with her a week and still not wouldn't be able to tell the color of her eyes, what color her eyes were. And of course and they were all giving you heck, and they said, "Yeah, we wouldn't razz him if we didn't appreciate him, even though he stole a seated $50 off my permission." That's Bill Marsh. Oh God, yeah, you just never know what you're going to dig up. That's just what it comes right down to. I see guys pass so many times on items that, man, I would dig that. But see, I don't know their site either, Craig. They might have dug 300 beer cans on their site. So yeah, when they get that certain signal, they walk on it. And I get it. I mean, I'd do the same thing probably if I was digging 1,000,001 pull tabs. Am I going to really dig a pull tab signal? But
yeah.
But on the video, I'm sitting there watching. Wait a minute, what was that? And I did it to Darren Groves when he was making. That's who got me involved with Bliss Tool, as far as wanting to be a distributor and everything back in the day. And he did that one video, and he was doing it was a test video, and he was scanning the ground, and he got a signal, and it just blasted. And I emailed him the next day. I said, Darren, I said, I love the video and everything, but what the hell was the target that you went over that wasn't supposed to be there? And he goes, I forgot to dig it. So he went back, and I think it was a hammered coin, wasn't it, Craig? It wasn't that hammered gold coin, I don't think. But, yeah, I mean, it was, I think it was a hammered silver coin or something like that and this is a spot where everybody hunts, I guess. Well, even where he found that hammered gold coin at 12 inches deep with the 11-inch coil on that Bliss Tool, that particular, I'm going to call it a farm field, is the same one that the hunt club uses, and it's had buku millions of guys metal detecting on it. Darren goes in there with that Bliss Tool and bing, 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 and it freaked him out. I couldn't believe he found it. I think I actually saved that video somewhere. And he goes, man, Derek, I dug that. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He goes, I just thought it was going to be some kind of piece of junk, some kind of piece of non-ferrous or whatever. Because with the Bliss Tool, you could tell the difference in like copper and brass. It sounds different than silver or a lead. But I mean, how many gold coins do you dig to have that nuance in your head what it sounds like, But, Darren did that. I had to razz him about it. Craig jokes with me, well, Never say you never. You can probably dig one. He did that with a mercury dime on that one plantation property. And what do I dig the next time I go out? Mercury dime. So, Craig, please tell me that I'm crazy, that I'm never going to dig a gold coin. Just do that so I can dig one tomorrow or Monday. I keep on waiting to get. I know I'm going to get over some coins. I know I'm going to dig major coins off that property eventually. It just got to get down there to them. I think they're all. Every target I think that I've dug for the most part has been over 8 inches down in that on that property, 8 inches or deeper. So I know the coins are there because they're just a smaller surface area, and I got all this big stuff on the top. Top, 8 inches. So I'm masking. Everything's masked up, but this detector's kind of getting in between everything. So, I'm getting signals where I wasn't getting signals before, Craig. So that means that my unmasking or my layering technique is working. It just takes a little bit of patience. But in front of that water trough, man, there is loaded also, with items.
The way you're hunting, you're getting used to the machine a lot quicker too, and the sounds, and the numbers and stuff like that. So
you still see me pass on stuff. I passed on several items. I'm like, it just doesn't sound good. No, I want to get something a little bit better signal, and I'll come back to that one or whatever. I'll fill in a hole and say that. So if I know there's more targets in there, I'm tired of digging on the hole. I'm going to move on, and I'll come back to this eventually, and the halos will come back to it and everything else. In a month or so, and I'll dig some more stuff out of there. That area is loaded with stuff. Right? Mostly 1920s in front of that water trough. I mean, I've already found 3 pocket watches there in different spots, so I know there has to be other items there, some kind of pendants or maybe a ring or two. Maybe they're just going to be brass rings or whatever. Plated gold. I think I found somewhere where they had a lot of stuff stored, like maybe in the barn or something like that. And just when the barn came down, there was stuff everywhere, and it just kind of got scattered. But it's hard telling. I've seen places
big old gold rings with rubies in them, and
never know.
I
think that one thing I found is Spanish. I really do. That one hatchet head. I'm almost positive that thing is Spanish. I've had a couple guys that kind of know, and they think it is too. I mean, I've always wanted to get into Spanish, the old Spanish, tools, armors, weaponry. I know they were here in Florida for 200 years before it became part of the United States or whatever. The history's here. I mean, it's just not sitting in St. Augustine or just sitting in, Key West or whatever. I mean, they were all around. In 200 years, they had to cross the state once or twice anyways. Human beings are natural adventurers anyways. We always want to see what's over the next hill. So, and I know down the road from me, the guy dug Spanish armor. This has been many years ago now, but, he got a signal and dug and dug and dug and took a chance. The stuff was 3 foot down in the ground. But we're also talking chest plate, the armor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something he'll never find again, probably. And I don't even know if he's still alive or not. But when he found that,
I'd rather find one of his helmets.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been looking at this stuff because, close because there was an Indian village that wasn't even. I'm thinking that it wasn't even 3 miles away. I got maps of this. I mean, where they have it listed on the map as it being an Indian village. I mean, what did they have access to any kind of metal towards the end there? That they were making weaponry out of, or did they trade in that? I mean, it's always been said that Seminole Indians would trade, or Indians in general down here would trade gold for silver. They considered silver worth more. It was worth more to them because they could mold it into what they want, jewelry and everything else. The gold wasn't worth as much to them. So where's all this? Where did all the gold come from? It had to come from the Spanish or something like that. I mean, they had galleons going across. Not all these galleons made it. I mean, I was watching this show, and I want to say it was Oak Island. The guy had a good point. I mean, there's two or 300 Spanish galleons that they have never found. They never made their destination. 200. Greg, if they were even half loaded with gold and silver and treasure, where are they?
Yeah.
It doesn't say they have to be out in the middle of the ocean. They could be sitting in your own backyard if you live along the coast.
Well, just think of thousands of years,
stuff sinks.
Stuff, look how deep some parts of the ocean are. I
Right,
mean,
right.
you'll never find it down there in the Mariana Trenches and stuff. What is
Oh,
it,
exactly.
5, 6, 7 miles down or something? It's crazy.
Well, they're
But
thinking that
they're also finding all these civilizations now on the bottom of the ocean.
right.
Because of the new technology. They're starting to see remnants of old walls and all kinds of stuff down in
Well, we had
different places. But
we have the Gasparilla parade down here, down in Ybor City and everything. They have the pirate ship come in and all that stuff into Tampa Bay. I mean, you're talking all this pirate activity way back when. I mean, there's talk of buried treasure around Clearwater and everything. 'Cause I don't even know how you'd even find it anymore. It's probably been built over, or it could have been dug up already. And when they were putting in the foundations for these big, hotels and everything else through there, and then they go and find an old ancient ship, some kind of a boat or something along the coast. I can't remember where exactly it was. Along the west coast, right through there, south of Clearwater somewhere. I mean, there's so many ships that went down around here, so many that were grounded that went, that sank on the rocks or whatever else. I mean, but there was activity there. It was all around. And just because they tell you that, oh, this happened, it's just like the bridge property. Guy swears up and down that was torn down in 1901 they tore it down, he said, and it was in the newspaper and everything else. Awful funny, I got photos and everything else that are dated 1961 and shows people standing on the bridge. And not just people, but people from my wife's family, from ancestors from my wife's family. So who am I going to believe? Am I going to believe some reporter that doesn't even know that he gave the best information he had at the time? But it took me searching around for a while to figure it out. A lot of people don't even know where the old towns up here moved. 10 miles away. I know where a town was. It had hotels, it had a bar, it had a church, it had all this stuff on one piece of property, and that's a piece of property I really want to hunt, Greg. And I had permission, and the lady lost her mind a little bit and doesn't want anybody on there. But it just looks like a flat field. You wouldn't have a clue. Nobody would have a clue looking at it. There was anything right there. And you can actually go down another mile down the road and see old school wells, like the old wells that stone, and you drop a water bucket down in. And there's 2 or 3. Actually, I know where 2 or 3 are right now. You could see them kind of from the road, and I know where 6 more are that they filled in. I know where all this stuff is. I mean, because I've researched it, or I've had people tell me, and I've kind of gone and looked, and they've shown me. And actually, I talk about him a lot. Is a friend of mine, Bert. He's arrowhead hunted since he was like 6 years old, and that was always it was the funnest thing in the world. Well, I talked to him over at the post, and now he goes, he wants to learn how to use a metal detector. But this guy has found, he has buckets and buckets of arrowheads and spearheads and stone tools and stuff that was just laying on the ground. The guy has an eye for it. I said, man, I'd like to learn how to. I got some good sites. I just don't even know how to approach, knowing where to even begin to start digging or looking. He goes, well, I could show you that if you show me how to metal detect. I said, by God, you got a deal. We're going to have to get together sometime, end of December, beginning of January or something like that and go hunting. I'll put a metal detector in your hand. You can tell me where to dig for arrowheads because I've always wanted to try it. I don't know if I like digging all the time, but it's like privy digging. I don't want to dig a hole 60 foot deep. You know what I mean, Craig? And pull stuff up. Some people like that. I mean, whatever trips your trigger, you ain't hurting nobody. It's all stuff that's forgotten about anyways.
I dug that one trash pit that went down. We went from 9 feet to 23 feet one day.
Oh, geez,
found a lot of bottles. I helped that guy out, but we gave all the stuff to the people there. They said we could keep the plain bottles, so I kept about maybe 10. They were like plain bottles from the 1850s, but it was kind of fun. But I'd never done it again. I'm not really into bottles. I've got this bottle dump, and down the street there's a bottle dump in the back of the property. Also, all these properties have they back in the 1800s they just threw everything in the backyard. That's what they did.
Right.
But and I eyeball. It's like every time it rains real hard, you can go in there and see bottles sticking out of the ground and stuff. I've collected bottles that way, but unless I see him. I'm not going to really go digging for him. It's kind of a. My friend Mike, he'd spent hours. He'd spent like 3 hours a day with this little hand rake and just raking the ground. It got down sometimes to about 2 feet deep. Is about as big as far as he was digging, but I think he got over 80 bottles.
Yeah. And it's fun for him. I mean, Mike had a ball with that, man. He was always, I got another bottle. Like, hey, far be it for anybody to say anything about him finding some happiness and playing in the dirt. Yeah, my mother-in-law, same way with shells. She loved to go to the beach and look for shells. That was her thing. And I like to metal detect. So by golly, I'd take her to the beach. I go metal detecting. She'd go looking for shells, and we were both happy campers, It's some people like, finding old padlocks, or heck, there's people that collect barbed wire, Craig. Whatever floats their boat, man. It's just stuff that's just laying around.
I knew relic hunters that stopped really metal detecting and just wanted to dig HUD sites and looking for, just for the bottles. And I couldn't understand that, but I can see, I guess,
I just didn't like the physical. It's like gold prospecting. I'd probably be a good gold prospector, I would think. I know enough about it, I've watched enough, I've learned enough about it. I mean, doing it is another thing, but I don't, the physical digging, I mean, you guys had to, a lot of you guys know this, but I mean, if you don't, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, and everybody'd be getting rich. It's not an easy thing. So, yeah, I like the idea of it. I love watching, like these, Gold Rush and Bering Sea Gold and everything. I don't care for all the little drama stuff, but what they're finding, how much dirt they're moving, where they're finding it at, and how they're finding the spots to hunt, the technology they're using to get there, the drill holes, all that kind of stuff, It just kind of interests me, but I'd probably never really be physically able to sit there and do it right. Always big. If you're not going to go big, go home. You know what I mean? Anything I've ever done, I've been like that, and I'm not gonna sit there and try to, I don't know, have a hobby where I can't achieve something in it, for myself as far as finds or, collecting items. If there's a certain item that I want, if I don't have a chance of finding it anymore, I mean, what's the sense of doing it? I have to have some kind of love for it, but I want to be good at it, So I, gather information and I watch how other people hunt and ask questions still. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years. You've been doing it for 30 plus years now, and we still learn from other people. And hopefully we're teaching a few others what to do, what they can listen for, what they can look for. I hate to see people waste money on technology it's like that microphone you had, Craig. You spend good money on a microphone and the stupid thing breaks the first time you use it. That microphone you bought the other. What the heck?
Actually, I got it replaced.
They did replace it good,
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It just annoys you when either something doesn't work right at all, or it breaks, or it's frustrating. So if I can turn somebody on to something that's not going to break and it's going to work properly, heck yeah, I'm going to tell them about it. I don't have any dog on a hunt, but I'll make a video about it.
So, yeah, the microphone worked pretty good, but the plug broke, and so I wrote, I guess it was a negative review. I said, basically the plug broke. Sound was great, but
it sounded good. Yeah.
The company got upset, said they would replace. Well, Amazon said to send it back. We'll give your money back, and then the company contacted me and said they would send me a replacement and then they wanted me to get rid of the negative review. And I didn't consider a negative review as a true review.
Yeah, true. There's a difference between negative and true. I mean, there really is.
I told the truth. It did sound good, So, but I did get, they did send me the replacement. So,
well, the things about reviews, Craig, and I don't know. You do it. I know I do it. And I think most of the guys on here, like Bill Marsh and Lloyd, you look at reviews. Reviews mean something to me only because it's a regular person. Not anybody that has a dog in the fight, not selling it or whatever. I see it, like I look up at certain food items and stuff like that you can't really buy in a grocery store. But I'll see the review on there. Great product, tastes really good, but the can was all dented when I got it. And then you look at another review, they say the same thing. It's like, so there's a problem with their shipping or whatever else. You want to know these things because obviously this stuff's getting beat up. I mean, man. back in the day when we first started. Well, when you got your first Bliss tool, Craig, what was the box like when you first got your very first Bliss tool? How was it packed?
It was huge. It was like,
This monster box with no foam, no nothing. I'm thinking the only thing that was wrapped was the control box. I'm like, oh my god, this thing has holes in the box. My detector's screwed, But it didn't end. It ended up surviving it. But
it had my box. I think had like grease marks on it where it's been slid all over the place.
I'm thinking to myself, man, this detector is screwed. I've just lost my money. Or what? I got onto him. That's how I first talked to him, Ed. And I'd emailed him, and I'd been talking to Darren Groves for quite a while at the time.
Well, they probably got like that when they loaded on a horse cart,
No kidding. But you know what? I made a change on that because I told him, I said, people start getting machines that are broken, buddy, you might as well just keep your machine in Bulgaria because they're not going to buy some, even if it's the best thing in the world, if it's all beat up by the time it gets to them. Well, it wasn't shortly after that he started wrapping everything and putting plastic on everything and foam and getting a smaller box. And well, you listen. I mean, he's not a marketer. He's an electronic genius. I'll give him that in a heartbeat. But he's not a marketer at all. And that's just one of his things. But that he needs to hire somebody to do. But yeah, you don't ship something right, and you're going from Bulgaria to the U.S. or Bulgaria to wherever. And it shows. You got to know what the heck you're doing with that, or hire it out to somebody that does. That's why marketing a machine, any kind of product, is so hard. You got to, you can't just sell something. Everybody thinks you just sell. No, you need to have this stuff.
One little screw up can ruin you.
Yeah.
There's so many Well, it's not so many, but there's haters that a few of them can.
I call them trolls.
The comments and
trolls.
Yeah, I've noticed over the years, some of the guys, it's the same guy, over and over.
Yep.
The same people. But I try to take the positive view of it, and not, I sit there and I go, it's not that big a deal sometimes, But some people get so picky, and you got all these so-called experts, I said, nobody's really an expert. I mean,
what makes you an expert any more than me,
But you got these guys spouting off all this stuff about the machine and these films, and I got tired of some of those things. I thought, God, these guys are just arguing about. They're trying to build each other. That one guy's better than another guy on a machine. I don't care. I just want to get the best performance out of it, and if somebody's willing to help me, that's great. I don't know everything. That's why. Especially when you get a new machine, everybody's looking for information, and
right.
Once I start getting good information, then I can tell people, well, I'm doing this and I'm getting this kind of results, but I'm not an expert. I've got a lot of experience. I've been doing it a lot longer than most people. I've had a lot of machines, but, there's plenty of people that know more than I do about all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I got a couple on here too, Craig. It's a kind of different kind of topic, but I just kind of paraphrasing on some of these. So some people got the Knox and went back to the AT Pro, and then somebody else says, or they will make a mistake, and White's made years ago. I think when I'm not brand loyal. When you're loyal to a metal detector that really finds you a lot of stuff that's really, really good. It's hard to switch to another metal detector sometimes because you always think, okay, I'm not finding as much with the Knox or whatever you buy, and you may go back it's because that other detector so doggone well. I mean, you think about some of you guys, like, they were talking about AT Pro on here. Some of these guys are vicious awesome with an AT Pro. I mean, they're really, really good with it. I just couldn't, I don't know, just something about the way it worked, the way that I was understanding what the machine was telling me. I couldn't wrap my mind around good enough to make me feel like I wasn't confident enough with the machine to be able to find stuff repeatedly and know pretty much what I was digging or have a pretty good idea. And some machines like the E-Track was like that with me. I hated the E-Track only because of the sound. It wasn't because of what the performance level was. I couldn't get the information I needed out of the sound that the machine was giving me. is because I don't hear in those kind of tones or the way that zippy sound was or whatever. Other guys loved it. I mean, Josh Kimmel was one of the ones that used to hunt with that machine, and he hunted by sound with that machine, Craig. I couldn't even, it just annoyed me more than anything else, but that's just personal preference.
I had the Explorer XS, and it had that, with the tones,
Yep.
and people could hear me, when I was metal detecting. They go, "God, you got like a synthesizer going on in your head."
Yeah.
And a lot of people. There was a couple people that tried the machine, and after about 10 minutes, they didn't like it. But my friend Howard, my friend Mike McAdams, we all three used those machines for a long time, and I did tests, but I was using the Nautilus, and I was a diehard Nautilus guy, and I started testing that machine and back and forth on the same site every weekend with the between the Nautilus and the Explorer. And after 6 months, I think it was after 6 months, I never used the Nautilus again and just switched to the Explorer. But it's and a lot of diehard Nautilus guys, there's nothing like a Nautilus. And I go, well, I've been going over the same site over and over and over, and I'm having better results with the Explorer. I mean, I'm digging a little deeper, and I'm having a lot better discrimination.
Right.
So, but
well,
that's just you use whatever you want. I mean, there's plenty of detectors out there, but I had really good results with that detector, and I went back to sites. I couldn't believe it had that breastplate at that trenches after all those years of hunting with the Nautilus. I hadn't even gone back in 5 years, and I go back with the Explorer, and the first time I'm there, I dig a breastplate about, I don't know, it was under a tree actually. I had to dig like up and under it. It was up to my shoulder almost.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that deep straight down, but I had to reach up under the tree to get it.
Right. Yeah.
All I knew was I was getting this high tone. I was like, didn't know what it was or anything. It's like a total shock when I pulled the breastplate out.
But, I was kind of looking on here too. They were talking a little bit about Oak Island. Guys, I hadn't watched that series probably since the first or second season. I got annoyed with it because they just weren't going anywhere with it. This season that's going on right now, I think it's because only really because of the guy that's metal detecting in it. I've always said, we've all thought it, Craig, because we've talked about it before, that there's other stuff around that island to give clues. I mean, if they built something, there had to be encampments, there had to have been stuff lost, and the guy that's doing this now, I think he's using a CTX, legitimate.
It's Gary Drayton.
Gary Drayton.
He's English, and he moved to Florida years ago to treasure hunt along the coast and stuff, and he's become really good, giving advice on jewelry and finding stuff in the surf.
I don't really know the guy at all.
They brought him up there, and it's energized the whole show. But
he's finding stuff. That's the thing.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I mean, they were just. To me, they're milking it. They have
done
year,
more. Well, they've done more in the last 3 or 4 shows that I've seen than I've seen him do in a long time. He's actually you take a metal detector in there, and he's actually digging.
They're actually finding something, instead of
But the leads are coming from him. The leads are actually coming from him most of the time, Craig. That's what it seems like. I mean, he finds a spike from a ship that, they had it carbon, whatever kind of dated, and they said, it was definitely from this time frame. Then he turns around and finds some kind of oak leaf brooch, and then he finds these, I can't remember what they call them. They look like sledgehammers, but they're not. But he's finding stuff, and they're looking at it. Well, we need to dig over here. We need to dig over there. We need to do this. They're right now. I've always said that, man. Put me on a beach. Put me on the beach. Put me anywhere on that island, and I would just metal detect my butt off and dig everything. If there was people there at that time frame, they lost stuff. Everybody loses buttons and coins and tools. Tools break. ships go run aground. There's stuff everywhere. If there was activity, it would be there. And it may be, they've got it. Some stuff they found this season that's supposedly pretty. I don't know how much legit it is or anything. It looks like stuff that would be found. They actually, I don't know if they live dig it or whatever. But like the brooch, it was made. You had to have money back then to have stuff made. They dated it what they think it is. They had took it to an expert and all that to have it cleaned, and it has a lot more legitimacy. I think this season. I don't know. They've already found an entrance to one of the tunnels, supposedly. I mean, I haven't seen that episode. I haven't recorded.
Well, even if it doesn't have to do with Oak Island, at least it's interesting. Instead
it's not being same old. Just
it's almost like clickbait the way they used to do it.
Well, the whole season, they went the whole season at one time with a coin. And oh my God, we found a coin. Well, big deal. I mean, that's what drove me nuts about it. One item doesn't make the show, and it seems like I watched 4 or 5 episodes, and that's the only thing they did at that season or whatever. This new one, I finally gave it another chance to watch it. But I think that the guy that running the metal detector, I think that's what's got my interest. But he's actually finding something.
Gary is very good with metal detectors. He knows what he's doing. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I'm not knocking him one way or not. I don't even know the guy. I'm just saying it makes it more legitimate to me when he's finding something and they're using that information and actually, going with that, and he's contributing to them finding that treasure, I think. And I don't even know the guy, but at least he's trying to do it right. So that's a good thing. Is a positive light on the hobby. I think it's actually surprising to me because for so long, any site, not any site, but a lot of the sites that we hear about, where they're doing archaeological digs and stuff like that here in the U.S. or whatever, a lot of times I think it's hobbyists that get them started on it. They'll find something there, and then all of a sudden the archaeologists come in and find a whole town or find a whatever. It's a hobbyist like us that actually, get them started or get them the right area. I mean, you've hunted with them up north, Craig. They didn't even know what they were looking for. Some of the stuff you were finding, they had no idea that they were dealing with colonial stuff or Civil War stuff. I mean, they're just not educated in that way for that kind of detective work.
Their whole culture of archaeology is just totally different. It's opposite of what we do. We get signals and dig, whereas they dig at random, and try to.
I just never understood
on it. By these test holes and everything, and it's almost like medieval the way they're doing it instead of using technology. I think nowadays they're starting to use ground penetrating radar. I know they did up in the in my neighborhood in Alexandria. They were using it in that field where the right across from where the fort was. But
I can't remember the number, Craig, but even on Oak Island, I watched one episode. I think they set 16,000 charges. Each charge is a stick of dynamite. They planted these things. They had hired a company to come in there and put these in the ground every so often, and they set them up to get the, when the explosion happens, it sends the sound waves down into the ground, and it notices anomalies and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty high tech, really, when you think about it, for what they've done in the past. They are drilling a lot more on the show, but they're looking for tunnels and waterways and all these little things, to give them an idea of where the treasure room is or whatever, give them some idea, but they're actually getting stuff. They drilled in the swamp and hit wood. They found a wood board in there that obviously looks like it's from a ship. I mean, they're finding iron things. I mean, they're using this technology a lot better, or they're bringing people in to do the technology. They're not trying to do it themselves. They're hiring companies or groups to come in that are really good about, like damming up water, getting areas dry, drilling, all that. So, you're bringing in experts to do it anyways. So, but they're making progress is all I meant. Because I was like most people were about Oak Island. I was like, they're never going to find anything. These guys aren't, the way they're portraying it on the show, they're not going to find anything. And we have a lot of smart people who have looked for it before them. I mean, this has been going on for how many hundreds of years, Craig? And
Yeah, I first heard about it in the I think in the late '70s because a friend of mine I went to high school with worked for Strange Magazine,
right.
and he actually researched this and wrote a article in it. And I was it he went to like haunting, strange treasure sites and all kinds of mystery stuff, back then, and wrote about it as a writer. But that's how I first heard about it. And I think he actually visited the island. They actually paid to go up there and visit. He interviewed people on the island, and he said half the people thought there wasn't anything there, and that they said people been there's actually been a lot of people died, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been six. I think they say six people have died looking for it. I don't know. There's probably been more. I don't know. I mean, I've always heard, and it's always kind of made sense in a way when when they were talking about I don't think it's pirate treasure. I really don't. Only because a pirate would, the way I've heard stories about with like Blackbeard and those kind of characters. In the past there. They bury a treasure. They have other people dig the hole, and usually those other people end up in the hole with the treasure and then get buried over. You don't want witnesses. You don't want somebody coming back and sailing back a day later and digging up your treasure. They're going to, and that they can see where they're buried deep and everything. But I mean, I think it's more of a, I don't know if it's Templar. I really don't know where the treasure came from. If it's that much, if there's that much treasure to make that much of a difference, it has to be a lot of stuff down there. A treasure room, and for never to be messed with. And I don't know if it is true, Greg. I mean, it's all crapshoot. You don't never know. They really haven't had any real proof other than that stone down in the ground. But I mean, I don't know the way it's set up.
It's pretty complex the way that whole thing's set up. It's
well, they found the roadways are dwarfs. They found these, like by the swamp there. They found, it's like essentially trees lined up in the ground to drive, to carry horse-drawn carts or whatever the heck they're using to get freight on and off and stuff like that. They are finding stuff like that, so it showed activity in different areas on the island. And I heard something about it. It was split up amongst people. I don't know. The whole sordid past of it all is just kind of. It leaves a lot of intrigue. I mean, it's a treasure hunt. It's not going to be easy. It hasn't been easy for how many years they've dug and dug and dug, and now they're sort of looking at the outskirts, trying to figure out a way to get into one of those tunnels. The water's and they will take them to the treasure room, or at least close to it, or give them an idea where it's at. Because I guess in the 1800s or something like that, early 1800s, they knew right where that treasure pit was, and then then it was forgotten about, or I don't know. They were saying on the last show I watched that they didn't have a clue where it was anymore. That it was lost to history or whatever. Somebody died that knew where it was and didn't know where it was anymore because they died. So yeah, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of treasure to be found around the world, man. They find it every day. I mean, you got guys in England digging up stuff in the middle of a farmer's field worth $2 million. I mean, there's stuff here in the States. I mean, I don't know how old it is or anything like that, but I mean, every once in a while you get, or I hear about it anyways, people tearing down a house and finding $40,000 or $50,000 in the wall, that was put in there back in the 20s or something like that, 20s or 30s. People didn't believe in the banking system back then during the Great Depression. People buried money. I mean, they buried money all over the place. I know people that have found catches of coins and stinky money, we call it down here. It was buried, it was molded, down in this Florida tropical heat. And it smells, it stinks, but it's stinky money. They found it somewhere. They dug up the garden, and oh wow, they have a mason jar full of some money. Are you going to tell anybody? No, you're going to spend it. Just money that was lost to the sands of time, so to speak. And I'm sure there's people that have found a lot more. People don't talk about stuff they find so much. The big money. Look what happened to the people in California. They find a few gold coins, and oh my God, they're stolen. It was stolen from a mint and this and that. They probably spent $10,000 on lawyers trying to keep the find they made that was found along a trail in a metal can, a vegetable can or something like that. I mean, are you going to tell anybody you found something good? No. I mean, I'm going to find it, I might tell somebody, but I'm not going to, make a big production about it. I found stuff I'll never talk about because it just, number one, people wouldn't believe you. They'd hack it up and say you planted it or whatever else. I mean, I've had people contact me with stuff that, Viking stuff in Florida. Give me a break, Craig. Or whatever. I mean, it doesn't, just odd things, Viking stuff. I have one guy that swears he's up in Minnesota, swears he's got Viking stuff right now. I've seen pictures of it. It looks legit to me. But, he's not saying it to everybody. I wouldn't either. Because they're just going to call you a liar. Or they're going to say you planted it. These people outside the hobby I'm talking about. They're just, they're, I share it with my friends. I tell you guys about it. And I don't care what they think, what other people think. They don't matter. Only my friends matter. So, but yeah, we've all had those treasures we find.
Well, so. It's like, it's kind of cool that, with the metal detecting and everything else is, we can actually find stuff, with detectors that, people back in the past couldn't find. I mean, they had no other way to, to even search, really.
Well, they worry about guys with metal detectors, right? They always have a fit about us. It seems like not everywhere, but I mean a lot of times. But yet they will send a construction crew in, scrape off 12 foot of the topsoil, take it off to God knows where, and then fill in the area with good subsoil to build a good foundation for a building. So you do it all the time. History's going out, though. I mean, it's never going to be found again. It's been hauled off to some other place, and they're going to fuss about me making an 8-inch hole in the ground and then filling it in, once I get the item out, filling it in on something that somebody threw away or lost and it's been forgotten about for 150 years, 200 years. I mean, what does it matter if nobody else is going to find it? You might as well just, it's free stuff. It's thrown away stuff. It's no different than...
I used to go relic hunting to these areas that, the Union Army camped after the, Battle of Fredericksburg, and it was 150,000 troops the whole winter. And when they started, basically Stafford County is pretty much, gone, as far as all, built over now. But it was all rural. I mean, there was hardly any houses, just, miles. You could walk for miles through the woods. You'd hear about, we'd see like the weekend before, we'd see like markers along a certain road as we were coming out, we'd go, they're going to bulldoze along there and put something in. And we'd come back a week or two later and we'd go up in there, it'd be bulldozed. There'd be 100 guys metal detecting,
right.
Huge area, it was like that for years. And, you didn't even have to get permission. You just, park. The roads would be lined with cars and trucks.
Mm-hmm.
The superintendents of these properties, they didn't care, but then it got to, into the 2000s, all of a sudden it became a liability problem, and they, you had a hard time even.
No, I've had it happen around here. Yeah. I've had it.
But, I used to talk to the bulldozer drivers and everything, and they would come over to see what, and ask, because a lot of them were either relic hunters or they knew about relics, because they've been seeing people on the sites all the time, and they'd say, "Oh, we actually like you guys because if you're on the site, nobody's going to mess with equipment and stuff on the weekends."
Exactly.
And stuff,
You help them, they help you.
Yeah.
There's the problem. There's been a lot of times I found stuff that we got caught up in their tires. They use these big excavators and stuff with these rubber tires. I find steel pipes. I find, we find all these hazards that could really rip up a piece of equipment. And, at least they see where we've tried to get it out of the ground or whatever, or we mark it somehow. I mean, it helps them out. I mean, trying to replace some of this stuff and the construction stuff is crazy expensive. I mean, Bill did that. Remember, Bill Pendergrass found that the side drill bit, the things they tunnel underneath the roadways and stuff to put water lines in and stuff, Craig. That bit on the end there, Bill Pendergrass found, they broke it off somewhere in the ground. They didn't know where. Bill goes up there with a 15-inch coil and the bliss tool And he says, well, I don't know, man. I've never looked for one of these. I think I got a good signal here. It sounds good. And it was about 25 feet from wherever they started at, where they thought they broke it at. And they dig down 5 foot in the ground, and there she be, is the big old bit that would have cost them like 10 grand or something like that to replace. And now they can get it fixed for like $2,000. I mean, he just saved all those workers, because of course you had to order it and everything else. That owner was so happy, that owned that drilling rig or whatever you want to call it. And he just thanked Bill up and down and all around for it. And Bill's like, hey man, I was glad I can find it. I didn't think I could, but man, my metal detector picked it up. So, so we help people out. We find a lot of stuff. And I just...
Yeah, I got a permission down the street because I found the guy's sewer for him.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'd walked by that site since I first got into this town and thought, man, there's got to be something on that site. There's this old abandoned house.
Yep.
About half an acre, and it just, I don't know, that property was calling to me, and it ended up, I've still got, permission to do it, and the guy hasn't built on it. I don't even know if he is now, but it's amazing how you can, it seems like sometimes this stuff just falls in your lap all of a sudden. You
right.
just, I didn't. It's just saying it came out of the blue. The guy that I knew that knew me, that knew I metal detected, saw the guy looking for the pipe, and he saw he had this detector and he couldn't find it. And so he said, hey, I got a friend down the street that metal detects. He could probably find it. And the guy said, could you call him? And I was down in 5 minutes, and then I've gotten several permissions from people driving by and actually stopped and started talking to me. And I got permission to hunt properties from them. So,
yeah.
It's I don't know. It's almost like destiny or something. It's meant to have been happening. It's all the kinds of weird coincidences happened to me ever since I've moved here. It's just, I don't know. This feels like I'm meant to be here. It's weird.
No, there's nothing weird about it, Craig. You get, just like we talk about getting bad feelings in a place, you got good feeling about a place. It works both ways, brother. I mean, there's certain sites that call to you, and other sites that tell you to stay away from them. I mean, I got a couple sites that don't really go out there hunting very much. It's just something, gut feeling, a gut whatever, uncomfortable feeling about them. Other places I love to go, and you kind of feel not welcomed. I don't know. This place I'm hunting right now, yeah, I'm finding a lot of cool stuff and everything, but I mean, just generally the aura of the property is just a good, just good. I mean, you just, have fun, whatever.
It's an unusual property, and you're finding all kinds of unique stuff,
right?
That normally you don't find. I mean, it's like that cane top is crazy looking.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But you go, what else? I mean.
Well, the button, the cane top, the little rocking horse thing I found cast iron. I mean, all these different items, but it's like there's all kinds of activity there. I haven't found very much kid stuff. I expected to find like maybe some kind of die-cast car. I did find the toy rocking horse or the whatever, and I'm almost 99% sure it is one of those. And it would be, God, it'd be pretty far back in the 1800s anyways, according to the ones I'm seeing, the kind of style it is. Very, very primitive looking. But I don't, other than that, I haven't found any toys. That kind of surprised me. I've had other properties where I find Tootsie cars or that's obviously from the 40s, but I mean, the pull behind toys, with the wheels, like I found up there in Horsham, Pennsylvania, that Colonial one. They had them clear back in Colonial times. I'm not finding any of that. And so maybe they didn't have kids or whatever. They obviously had money. That's a gentleman's cane. Somebody had to pay good money for that. The dress adornment I found was from a fancy dress. So
probably figured, the further back you go in Florida history, they probably, didn't have like stores and stuff where you could buy this stuff easily. They probably had more like sutlers or, people in wagons coming around, that would sell stuff, it's like, during the Civil War, they had these sutlers that would come around and sell garbage to the soldiers, that fell
Yeah.
apart.
Well, you're dealing with so much history that it just they didn't. I mean, people came down here. They were adventurers that came down here. Really, are you going to deal with 100-degree weather, humidity through the roof, mosquitoes, carrying malaria and spiders that can kill you by biting you, alligators and everything else? Are you going to come in? You had to be a hardy bunch to live in this kind of environment. Back, you didn't have air conditioning. You didn't have stores down the street. You struggled to survive, just like kind of like the opposite of Alaska. You're dealing with the heat down here. I mean, it's probably pretty tough. There's a lot of wildlife around, but there's a lot of stuff that'll eat your butt up too. We're having a problem with coyotes. Not we, but some of my friends are having problems with coyotes right now. And I said, man, I got like 30 of them.
At least you don't freeze to death down there.
I don't know, man. I can feel it certainly feels like it sometimes. When it's 20 degrees or 30 degrees here, it feels about 10. When that wind kicks up and that humidity gets up there, it's a wet cold and it just goes right to your bones, buddy. Seriously, there's days, I'm pretty adept to cool weather. You see me up there where you're at. When we got down into the 40s, I was fine. I was out there in a t-shirt and stuff, but down here, it gets down into the 40s and the humidity's real high and that wind starts blowing. Shoot, buddy, it goes right to your bones. You ache. Any injuries you ever had, and God knows I busted up enough of my body. It just hurts to walk across a room half the time. But, it was a tough life down here. It wasn't easy. It wasn't palm trees and beaches everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went on down here, good and bad both. But the history this county has a lot of history. I mean, they had an amusement park out here. I mean, like not Disney World, but on that scale, wanting to be right up the road up here. They had the Tiger, all the I can't remember the name of it, Tiger Land or Lion Land or whatever. Somebody ended up getting killed by one of the lions. They closed it up, but it's right down the street too. I mean, a lot of stuff has been the Gator Boys. If you ever watch that show, the Gator Brothers, that was done here in Sumter County. There's been a lot of people that look to start up stuff down here. It seemed like my wife probably has 100 more places that they started up, and like gator farms and everything else, all the airboat stuff we got going on.
Take you where we went when we were kids.
Oh, she's over here take you where we went when we were kids, and the stories that they tell. She is the youngest of 13 or whatever, and 10 generations, 11 generations down here. The stories that they told throughout, when they were kids with the grandparents and the great-grandparents, that Pauline paid a lot of attention to that. And she made family trees, and she has, a lot of the old family Bibles with a lot of information. I can track stuff just, put two and two together real easy. And she goes, well, I thought you knew that. Yeah, my uncle, whatever, owned, a plantation over here, and owned this over there, and the other uncle owned that, and the grandmother did this, and they talk about the fortune teller down here. That's Pauline's family right there. That was what, 1850, Pauline? 1860? From then till now?
1852.
1852. I mean, they had a road that I think is still on some maps as Fortune Teller Road. That's where, a great grandmother, right? Yeah, she just came into the room, but yeah, so when the great grandfather was the cattleman and the gambler and didn't believe in banks, so yeah, stinky money. It's kind of cool when you kind of track stuff around or find a little bit of information and you find a little bit more and you put it all together and you come up with your own kind of treasure map, so to speak. It paints a different picture than what people than what they know right now. Things change. People, they don't have the access to the old information. We went to computers and stuff. There's a lot of information I find that's never seen a computer. Back when it was made, or biographies by people from around here. That's how I found pictures and photos of that bridge. That was actually in a library on top of the shelving where they had the books, and it was a Xeroxed off, like Xerox copies, and the photos and the the family tree and the whole 9 yards from this particular family that lived over in Ensenada. And this old woman put it all together, and I found it, and the librarian didn't even know where it really come from. And Well, the next year they closed the library down. Thank God I made Xerox copies right there in the library because she wouldn't let me take it out of the library, check it out, or I wouldn't have, that would have been lost to everybody because nobody, I've never seen another photo like I have anywhere, of any of these bridges or around here and any of this activity that happened. The riverboats, I mean, most of the time it's just acts like folklore. I got photos of them, what they, the oldest one, the old black and white photos, Craig. And you can barely make out the name and everything, but you can tell it's a boat on the water, a big barge looking thing. But yeah, you just come across all this information and it kind of paints a picture for you. But I guess we'll leave it with that, Craig, because we're already at 10:14, so I went 15 minutes over an hour, Loy. And Bill. And I didn't even realize it. I've been running my mouth so long we went through a whole another hour and 15 minutes.
Well, we're nowhere near our record.
No, I think Pauline has that with 4 hours or something like that. 3 or 4 hours. She's over here smiling and waving at you guys. So, but yeah, I guess it's time to get off here, guys. It's been fun tonight. Of course, we're on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, our Saturday night show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. Make sure you listen to, or check out the other shows, Relics Radio with Loy and Mark and Jeff. They're on Spreaker.com and Beyond Sight and Sound with Josh Kimmel. And you got All Metal Mode on there. Everybody, these are all metal detecting shows. They're all interesting. They all have different formats. And we talk about, kind of different things in different ways or whatever. You'll enjoy it. And tell a friend. We don't advertise really. I don't think these guys are really advertising either, other than through Facebook and stuff. So, share the show with a friend, and that way, maybe they'll learn a little something and have fun with it too. But Craig, I'm going to bed, brother. I got to get up in the morning and go back to the post. And we just had the Wreaths Across America today, and where they bring all the wreaths down here and into the national cemeteries, And we had 700, Pauline, 700 or 800 people come in within 3 hours to the post there, and we served them food and everything. Well, we're doing that all again tomorrow, so try to do that good thing. So I got to get up bright and early, in other words. So Craig, you guys, and have a good night, be safe, and enjoy the holiday season. And be sure to listen to Loy's show on Thursday. Nocta Macro lady's going to be on there. Let's see what they have to say or what she has to say. Maybe we can find out a little bit more information about this detector and what it can do. Is that enough, Craig? Can I stop talking?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop talking. Y'all have a good night and be safe. Bye-bye.